What? Hey, this is Rosa, rcgkreations. How you doing? I'm bringing you today, today Saturday, so I'm off today and tomorrow, besides church tomorrow. Other than that, I'm home all day long. I'm going to be doing prepping for next week's meals because we joined a gym, and we're going to try to go at least 3 days a week for an hour, which means as soon as I get home, change clothes, get hubby, go to the gym, come back in about an hour and a half, and then we eat supper. We're typically up until 12:30 anyway, so it's not that big of a deal. And we're going to try to do nothing heavy, okay, on those days. But I'm making, and I'm going to show you, homemade pasta sauce, tomato. It's going to be a tomato base. There's my grilled onions. I got some little bit of red. I wanted to hurry up and use it before they spoiled. And some yellow. I've got some chopped up bell peppers. They were in the freezer. And I saved my peppers because I knew I wasn't going to be using them. So I put them in a freezer bag and stuck them in the freezer. So they've been in there about, I would say, at least 4 months. So it was definitely time to go ahead and use some. And what I've got here is whole tomatoes, okay? See that they're whole. And what I've got in here is the chopped up bell peppers. I've got 3 different colors. I've got some chopped up red and yellow onions, and I've got some chopped up garlic. And then when all this simmers, I'm going to give it about another 20-30 more minutes more. I'm going to get my immersion blender, and I'm going to emulsify it all. Then I'm going to water bath can, my tomato sauce. So this is actually going to be a tomato base. Now I'm cooked my tomatoes. Let me show you. I just saw one with the skins, okay? And I'm going to do a little pop-up. There's something that I found at 3 different sites about why it's good to use. Oh, here it is. See that? That's the skin. Okay. Well, why it's good and it's okay to use the skin. Now, I wash my tomatoes. Do this with all my vegetables that I put in the freezer. I washed them all. Rinsed them off really good. Use my vegetable brush. And then I dry the skin. Dry it all out. Then I put it in a freezer bag. Now my tomatoes, I put the whole thing whole. Okay? I don't even cut out the little roundy part, because once you've done it into your emulsion blender, you're never even going to see it or taste it. And for me, that's a win-win situation. So now what I'm doing is, I've already got some of the juice. You can see how the juice that it comes. Because when you're making fresh tomatoes, there's a lot of juice in them. I've already got 1 jar of tomato juice, and I'm going to water bath this also, because this makes great if you like to drink juice. Hubby likes tomato juice. I do not. So now I'm trying to find a pocket so I can. I'm trying to find a pocket. There we go. And then let me show you. You look for a pocket, and that's just nothing but juice. See that? See that little pocket right there? It's right there. Do you see that? It's a pocket, and you don't want any of the fruit, any of the meat, any of the peppers, none of that in there. But if you do, that's okay, not a big deal. And you just want to put it in a container. Now what I do is I get my sieve, and I do a double straight. I'll get another container, and then I'll pour all this through my sieve. And what's still left over that's solid, I'll put back in here and simmer before I use my immersion blender. That way I haven't wasted anything, and I've used it all up. So now what I'm going to do, move this closer here. This is a messy job. I've got tomato sauce everywhere. I'm making enchiladas a little bit later for supper. Hubby went ahead and cooked the ground beef for me. So I'm going to get ready for that. So now I'm just, and look, there's a piece of garlic. And I want to keep that in here. And I keep mine on like on a medium low. Okay? I don't need it. You don't want it to bubble, bubble, bubble. You want it to simmer. You want it to simmer for a good 30 to 90 minutes. I prefer 90 minutes. Okay, so mine's on a, now it's a low, but I'm almost done. Because it's been over an hour that it's been cooking. Because remember, when you start from frozen, it takes longer than when you start from fresh whole tomatoes. And I started with frozen tomatoes. So now I'm just trying to get as much liquid as I can, because I don't want my sauce to be really watery. But you got to find a pocket. Somewhere you got a pocket, and sometimes you just got to stir it around till you find a pocket. I'm trying to get one on this side, because my counter, I'm working on this side of my counter. It's like everything else I say, you work with what you got. Okay. And this tomato juice, like if you're making tomato juice to a drink, they have all these veggies in the tomato juice, like the V8 juice. So all these veggies are going to be fantastic when you can these. And I'm going to can these in little pint jars. This is the time you want to use your regular mouth, not your wide mouth, because this is a liquid, so it's going to pour right out. And you use your canning jars, and you're going to water bath can them. But I'll put all that in the description box. So this is just phase 1. Phase 2, let me bring you over here, there is the ground beef that hubby made. It's cooling off for me to make the enchiladas. And I'll bring you to the next phase in just a minute. Let me bring this up just a second. I just moved it up so you can see me. What we're going to do next after we do all this is, because while this is simmering, I don't need to sit here and watch a pot doing its stuff, which is getting all the nutrients, getting everything out. Look at that. Look at how thick that is. That's going to be some good sauce. And this hopefully will make us about, I'm hoping 18 jars, 18 pint jars of sauce. So this is going to be tomato base, and I'm going to label it, because sometimes I just make plain tomatoes and that's it, nothing else. Because it depends on what you're making, of what you want to do. And what's nice is if you already have a canned base that's labeled and dated, you know what you can and can't do, because sometimes you may want a sweet sauce, sometimes you may want a spicy sauce, and sometimes you may not want oregano in it, or you may not want garlic in it, you may not want onions in it. It's just variety, and so this way you can make what you want. So this batch is going to be my catch-all, everything, all the good stuff, all the veggies. So next is going to be my enchiladas. I got to wait till this next phase to do those, and then I'm going to be making some granola to go for our breakfast with our yogurts, and then I'm going to be making some, that's going to be granola for the whole week. And then we're going to be making some scalloped potatoes to put in the freezer, and that's going to be a meal for one day next week, but I'm going to make a big pot of it. And I'm not going to bake it. I'm going to make it all raw, but put it all together and stick it in the freezer. That way it's already done. Now, I'll put a link on my dehydrated potatoes. I'm not saying I'm doing that yet. I'm saving that for another video. But I'll put the link in there where I made the dehydrated au gratin potatoes. Okay? And what I ended up doing is I just cleaned out all my stuff in the freezer. Because I had, we put stuff in there wherever it fits. So I made a bunch of room, and now I'm just cooking all the stuff. I've got some cauliflower that was frozen. I'm letting it thaw out, because I'm going to go ahead and make some saute vegetables, because I do like to have sauteed vegetables once they're frozen. I let them totally thaw out. Then I put them on a cookie sheet. Then I put a towel on there, paper towels, and I soak up all the excess water. And then I put them in my frying pan, and then I fry them on really low with some olive oil and some seasonings. And I've got myself some sauteed vegetables, which is great to do with like broccoli, cauliflower, okra. Let's see, what else is there? Asparagus. Pretty much any kind of vegetable that you can like, you could do that. So, instead of it spoiling freeze some of your stuff. If you have space in your freezer, put in this the little quarts or the gallon Ziploc bag is whatever you have room for. Don't forget, label it, because I got 2 things here. I got surprised. The only reason is I really thought this bag of potatoes, let me show you. This was in a Ziploc baggie. This is scalloped potatoes. I really thought this was cauliflower. But it's not, and I already took it out, and I just noticed it was already thawed out. You know what? I'm just going to go ahead and make it. I'm going to this particular batch, I'm going to rephrase what I said a while ago, is I'm actually going to go ahead and bake it today. Bake it. Put it all in my pan. And, where's my, oh, it's in the kitchen. But it's the big pan. And then I'm going to go ahead and bake it like normal. And then I'm going to take it out, let it cool at room temperature. Then I'm going to put it in those aluminum disposable foil containers and freeze them in a portion that's just enough for my and hubby's dinner and for the next day for lunch, and then we'll have them as a side dish, but it's already cooked. So all we have to do is take it out the night before, stick it in the fridge, let it thaw out, whoever comes home first, hubby or I, and heat it up in the oven in about 30 minutes, because it should be totally thawed out, because it's going to sit in the fridge for about 8 hours. Actually, no longer than that, because it's going to be overnight. I'll do it the night before, and that we don't cook it until the next day. So it should be definitely thawed out by then, because that'll be all night, and then most of the day, work days, it's an 8-hour day. And then I would say, I think I'm going to do it at 425. I got to look at my recipe, but I'll put all that in the description box. And I also will do a quick little pop-up, okay? And to reheat cooked au gratin potatoes. Actually, these are going to be scalloped potatoes. Not au gratin. I just want to go to the extra effort because I'm doing an awful lot today. So I'm hoping to see, let's see how much we get done. And I'm going to probably break this up into 2 different videos, because I really want to stay within my 15-minute time frame I like to give myself. Okay, and I'll put in there phase 1, phase 2, whatever it is, or maybe phase 3, who knows, and see how much I get done, so that way we can all see what we prep this weekend for all next week's meals, to speed things up and speed the cooking process next week, so we're not exhausted. After everybody knows, after a full day's work, everyone's tired, and you don't want to cook from scratch when you're tired. Okay, we'll catch you the next part. And the next part on here for me is, I'm going to set my timer. I'm going to go ahead and strain the extra juice. Then I'll bring you back when I do the immersion. And then we'll go to the next phase, which will be canning the jars. And then we're going to water bath can them. Okay, I'm going to show you next. What I did, I switched strainers because it was too much for that little one. Once you've poured your juice, as you can see, my jar is empty. And so is my little blender pitcher. I put it in the same pot the hubby made the ground beef on, because it's just going to add flavor to it. And if you want to, you can clean it, but I didn't see no need. But look at all that extra goodness. Now this is going to go back into my stewing pot. And to save on a spill, I'm going to turn this over. I know you can't see me because I'm one-handed here. Two-handed, but you can't see. Okay, so now I'm trying to save as much mess as possible. So I poured that back into the pot. And now I'm going to transfer, let me move this over here. Move this out of the way. Oh, actually, I want it in here. Ooh, I'm going to strain it one more time. I got to keep an eye. And next thing, I'm glad I'm doing it by the sink, because I can see it spilling. Just want to make sure that it all fits in this bowl, which is good. And see, that's the leftover, the bottom of the ground. Well, we cook the ground beef, but for me that's good, because this is going to be used for tomato juice. But I'm going to go ahead, and that'll be a separate video, is I'm going to pressure can this just the way it is. Now you see this little bit of goodness? I'm not going to waste it. But you see the mess that I just made? That little bitty bit, because it's going to go into tomato sauce, ain't going to make a bit of difference. It's such a small amount. And once I get the immersion blender in there, no one's going to need to know. It's not someone need to know, is you're not going to be able to taste the difference whatsoever. So, I've got like 10 more minutes of letting it simmer, and you always want to scrape from the bottom. If you can, always use I like to use my metal one, so use a solid utensil. I like to use my metal when I'm doing something like this. And make sure it's a heavy stock pot, nothing flimsy. And turn it or stir it ever so often. And now I'm done for this for the next 10 minutes. My juice has been separated. I'm going to clean up my mess. And then we'll bring you to the next phase.